Welcome to I Am My Sister's Keeper and She Is Mine,
a podcast where two sisters
who are not mental health professionals
talk about mental illness from our perspectives.
Just two sisters living with mental illness and loving each other through. How you doing today, Rand?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. So we had planned on talking about borderline personality disorder this episode, and I woke up this morning thinking, I just want to have a coffee talk.
Well, that sounds good to me.
We actually haven't sat down and had coffee in a while. Like we usually do it every day.
Yeah.
And a lot has actually happened since we recorded our last episode. Mm-hmm. Because we recorded that episode like a month ago.
Right. Because
we recorded 2 episodes in one day.
Uh-huh.
So I posted a blog about my processing of my episode, the episode about my stuff.
Right.
And I actually feel like I've been processing more the last month than I have in my entire life because I don't really process.
Because you don't really talk about your stuff.
Right. And I had another pretty crazy epiphany in bed either last night or this morning.
Oh, what was that?
So, as you know, like, for the last several years, I have felt mostly like I am your caretaker in the mental health space.
Right.
And I feel like in the last 2 to 3 months, that has flipped.
What?
And you have been more my caretaker, which is why I am my sister's keeper and she is mine. Because I have noticed, so I have high functioning anxiety. Mm-hmm. And in June, I left my job.
Yes.
Okay. So since 2005, I have been going nonstop with work. Mm-hmm. I have a career. I do what I have to do. I make sure that I am top notch because that's how you prove your value when you have self-worth issues. Mm-hmm. That's how I prove my value when I have self-worth issues. And in June, I decided I'm starting my businesses, and I no longer have anyone that I have to prove myself to. Oh. Except myself.
Right.
So my anxiety doesn't feel like it's high functioning anymore. It just feels like anxiety because I don't have that structure.
Yeah.
That I had, where I knew everything that had to be done and I was going to do whatever I needed to do it. Right. And so I decided to launch my crystal healing business and my meditation and my coaching and all of that. Mm-hmm. And then the way my brain works, I come up with new random ideas and I'm like, this is going to be great. So I'm going to do this. And now I have all of these things that I want to do. And I don't have that structure that I need to do them.
It done.
So my brain is like on overdrive.
Overload.
Yeah. And then, a couple of weeks ago, I had that panic attack where we called 911, which has never happened.
That was so scary.
I talked about
I know it was scary for you, but me seeing you like that, like shaking uncontrollably, crying, not being able to catch a breath, I really thought that it was going to be a lot worse than what it was. Like, I've never seen a panic attack that bad, is what I'm saying.
And I've never had a panic attack, anything like that.
Right.
I get the shortness of breath and the chest pains, and I know what it is, so I don't really panic. I get freaked out and wonder and sit there and think for hours, do I need to go to the hospital? And in the end, I end up talking myself out of it. I have never experienced anything like that.
No.
I know, and I won't apologize because it's not my fault. But I know I saw your face when I was sitting on the couch and convulsing with the paramedics, and I couldn't, it was the weirdest thing. So, which is why, I feel like when we have coffee these days, it's always talking about how I feel like I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, it's true.
And I've never experienced anything like that before. I'm a control person. It's why I don't drink.
You're very much in control of your mind. And now it's it's not slipping away from you, but
it feels like it is sometimes. And I feel like sometimes the whole beautiful mind thing, and not to that extent, of course. Yeah. Thank God. It's just so weird and new for me because I'm 45 years old and it's the first time probably in my life that I have not been don't feel like I'm in control.
Right.
Which is a whole new thing. and I don't like it.
Yeah, because you are a bit of a control freak.
Oh, I'm a lot of a control freak. You can say it.
Nice.
You can say it. I'm definitely a lot of a control freak, but that's just a safety thing that I've had in my entire life. I have to protect myself, and I have to do what has to be done. And now it wasn't even a small little change. It's just, I feel suddenly like I'm losing my mind.
Well, you went through a big change, though. Quitting your job.
Huge change.
The structure and that you got with that.
And the financial security.
And the financial security.
And the relationships.
Yeah.
Because those relationships are not what they were.
Right.
These people were my family for 10 to 12 years, and that's not there anymore either. So it's almost like a grieving process, because I defined myself by my work.
Yeah.
That's how I've always defined myself.
Right.
How good I can be at what I do, and how well I can help people.
Right. That's you. You like to help people.
And that's why I shifted careers, because I feel like I want to help people on a deeper level. Right. I have gifts that I think that I need to be shared with the world, and sometimes I'm like, what the fuck did I just do? I think, do I go get a job? I don't want to go get a job.
Right.
Because for the first time in my life also, I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. I know that I'm finally living my passion and my purpose.
And your purpose.
So, yeah, it's been a weird couple months, and it feels like it's all culminating, and the timing couldn't be more perfect, because I have a retreat that I'm doing this weekend.
And that is perfect, because you'll come back from that refreshed, maybe with some new coping skills for your anxiety.
Well, yeah, and consider that the last time I went is when I decided to quit my job to the same retreat. Oh, so I came home, and the next day I quit my job.
That's right. Maybe you'll have some other kind of big epiphany.
Well, yeah, and the people that are there it's a food for the soul kind of weekend.
It's conducive to that kind of.
Exactly. Right. And I get so analytical, and I get caught up in the logistics of things when I just need to be trusting myself, because I know.
Right.
So yeah, that's what's been happening. And then, as you know, I got a message from my brother yesterday.
Oh, yes.
So that threw me for a loop. I don't know why, because I don't think he knows anything about the podcast. He messaged me on my business Facebook page. Mm-hmm. So he didn't message My Sister's Keeper Facebook page. So I don't know what.
I mean, the timing of it is really weird.
Timing, and exactly, and I feel my woo-woo self that there's some universal thing there.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I don't believe that he has listened to the podcast. I don't believe that he knows anything about it.
No, probably not.
Because I think he would have mentioned it.
Yeah.
And of course, I called you over to look at it, because I was like, what happened was I was driving home and I got this message from someone I didn't know. Mm-hmm. And I just saw in the message something about mommy and dad. And I was like, what is this? Like a psychic reaching out to me and trying to prove he knows who I am and wants to. And then it was a lot of incoherent stuff. And after about 10 messages, because they were boom, 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 I messaged him back and I said, well, I don't know who you are, but clearly you know me, my family, or the Kirshner family. I don't know if you're trying to put a hex on me, but you should know that I'm very protected in that area. So you're wasting your time. And then a lot of more coherent stuff. And then he said, and had I read the messages with a different side of my brain, I would have probably figured out that it was him.
Yeah.
And this is the brother that I talked about that I loved, that he was.
That protected you. That took your beatings.
And that came out to visit, here in 2006. Mm-hmm. And, we decided that, of course he has mental illness, because you cannot leave that family without having something.
Right.
But then it got me thinking, and I mentioned this to you, that because in his message he said Sharon, which is our mother's name, parentheses mom. And he called her mom, because you got to figure he was young when they met. Mm-hmm. And so he didn't have a relationship with his biological mother because she left. And so Mommy was his mother.
She was, because I think he must have been about 4 or 5 when I was, I think, 6 or 7. And I think he's 2 or 3 years behind me.
Yeah, he's the same age as Stacy. He's 6 months younger than Stacy. Okay,
so
yeah, he was young.
Yeah.
And Mommy was the only mother that he had also. And I never even considered the impact it had on him with us leaving, because he was left without a mother.
Uh-huh.
And I think that he had, some anger issues with that, obviously, because we talked about that when he was here visiting.
Mm-hmm.
I assume that in his logical mind, he realizes that there was no choice. I'm sure she would have taken him if she could, because she loved him very much.
Yes. But she couldn't. That would have been kidnapping.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
we all
she already kidnapped me. Legally speaking, we left between custody battles. That's why we moved out of state.
Right.
So, but I mean, he would have killed her,
Yep.
So this was just yesterday. And by the time you all listen to this, it'll be a week. I don't know what to think about it. He said to call him.
Oh, he gave you his number.
And he gave me his number. And again, because a lot of things were not making sense. It was typical of what you generally hear somebody with schizophrenia talking about, or a very hardcore conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
But the language used was not conspiracy theorist.
Wasn't like...
It was on a much deeper level. It was because I said to you yesterday, the way my brain thinks, I'm like, I wonder, yes, it's mental illness, but could it be communications from another dimension? Because I believe in that kind of stuff. I don't know enough about it to even believe that that's what it is, but wouldn't that be trippy?
Right.
But yes, he gave me his phone number, but he gave me all these instructions because, the internet, the government banned his internet.
Him.
And so I battled. Do I don't want him to have my number. So I thought, well, maybe I'll call him from my Google Voice number, which is my business number. But I definitely don't want him having that, because I can't just change that number.
Right.
Where I can change my personal number and I can block him.
Yeah.
So it took me a couple of hours. And then I finally decided to call him. And it's a screening thing where you have to do certain things to get through. And then it said it was not in service.
Oh, weird.
So I messaged him back on his friend's account and said, it says it's not in service. And then I guess he called me after I went to sleep, because, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb now at night. And he left me like a 3-minute message.
Oh, wow.
And what's crazy about it is that he actually sounded very coherent. The things that he was saying weren't.
Yeah.
But his voice was very calm.
It wasn't like he was like slurring.
He wasn't like manic.
Yeah.
He wasn't slurring. He wasn't talking like with urgency.
Mm-hmm.
I could barely hear, because he was talking low, probably, so nobody would hear him.
Right.
So yeah, like, I don't know, I have to protect myself. It didn't end up good the last time, and I love him.
I know
you know, so it's like
it's hard.
Yeah, because I know he had no chance.
No.
Neither of them had a chance.
No.
Because they were stuck with him. And they had no one.
No.
And
they had no one to save them.
No. And they're men, so they learned that male influence. I imagine that if Larry was actually a woman and their mother, they would be serial killers, because that's what you always see on TV, like those mothers that are like, ugh. So I know I
just went off
weird thoughts in my brain sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about it? Like, what are your thoughts on it? Because we didn't really talk about it.
Well, I mean, the last time I talked to him, I got a nasty message because I didn't respond in a timely manner. So I blocked him after that.
Right.
I feel something. I'm not sure what I feel. I feel bad for him. Mm-hmm. I do. But I feel not an obligation, but I feel like I want to try to help
human
him.
Empathy. Well, I don't believe that he can be helped.
He's
without medication.
Yeah.
I don't believe that he's a danger. He's not talking like he's gonna do something where I feel like I need to
protect yourself,
or to notify anyone, or to be like,
Yeah.
I don't need to protect myself. First of all, the things that he said were very, the way I decipher them, to be very protective of me.
Yeah, well, like he was for when you were a child.
And I said to him when I didn't know, and I'm like, who is this? And he told me, and I said, so you're my brother? And he said, yes. Right. And I said, prove it. Mm-hmm. Because he's a 6'6" white bald guy, and the guy that's messaging me is I don't know how tall, but he's a black dude. But the name sounded familiar.
I remember that name too now.
Right. So when he said it, it totally all made sense. Mm-hmm. So when I said to prove it, he said something that I couldn't decipher. Mm-hmm. And I said, that doesn't work for me.
Right.
And then I messaged him again and said, if you are my brother, which I believe you are, please just know that I love you.
Yeah.
And he said that he loves me too, and he misses me, and he has no reason to think that I would ever be out to hurt him.
No.
You know, he said Larry will pay, and Larry's already dead, so it doesn't really matter. You know?
Larry did pay. I mean, he got his karma in the end.
Yeah, and I think that we had the benefit of Mommy, who was that forgiving person, and tried to put the spin on it, and they never had that.
No, they didn't.
So I don't know that Larry dying the way he died would be enough for them to feel. Like, we know karma got him, you know, good riddance to bad rubbish, whatever.
Yeah.
But that damage that he did to them.
The damage that he did to everyone that crossed his path.
Right.
I mean, seriously. Everyone that he claimed to love, I don't even think he loved himself, you know? I mean, I think he was a pretty hateful person, even towards himself. He had to be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, you don't just treat people that way if you're happy.
Right. Well, and his mother, like I said, I never liked that woman.
Right.
I don't even remember having a relationship with her, so I don't know what that relationship. I only remember Grandpa. I loved Grandpa.
I just remember going to their house and there's dogs, and they'd make burgers every time we went there. That's all I remember from them.
That's so funny. That's really
and Stacy got ran over by a bike by Marty.
That I remember.
Marty ran her over.
Yep. Well, I don't remember it because I wasn't there.
Right.
But I remember hearing about it.
Yes.
And she has a scar from that.
She has a scar on her forehead, I think it is.
So, yeah, I don't really know what to do about that. Like, do I call him back? Because he called me from a different number, so obviously he was able to get to a different phone. Mm-hmm. I don't want to not call him back and be another person who abandoned him. Who
disappoints him. And
I can't fix him, and I'm that person who wants to fix people. Right. So I don't want to get myself into that position because I'm in a place of growth, and my history of trying to save people has always brought me down.
It has.
I don't know what to do about that.
Well, I mean, you could call him back and see what he has to say. I mean, maybe it's very far, and it's very far out there coming from somebody who is far out there. I don't do well with conspiracy theories in general. I don't have a tolerance. No, you're a critical thinker, and
I'm a very right. Yeah. So if you come at me with facts, okay, then I'm going to do my own research.
Right.
But just some stuff he was saying is very
conspiracy
QAnon kind of stuff, but on a far deeper level. Wow. I also don't want to, because when people come at me with that kind of stuff, I immediately snap back and say, did you research this yourself? All those kinds of things.
Be a critical thinker.
I don't feel that I could safely, mental health wise, I'm not afraid of him physically. He would never do anything to me physically, but words cut.
Yep.
And I know he has the ability to do that.
He sure does.
So it would be a matter of me having to keep my mouth shut and then feel like my energy is being poisoned because I believe in all that.
Yeah.
I'm really just so heartbroken for him.
I am too. Because he didn't stand a chance.
Nope.
I never thought about it that way, that he was abandoned too.
No, it took us all this time to even consider that Mommy was his safe, probably. Yeah. Even though she wasn't, because she wasn't present,
right?
And all that, she still was his mother.
Yeah, she was, and he loved her.
And the only mother he ever knew. Mm-hmm. So yeah, stay tuned, because I don't know what's going to happen with that, but
I think you'll call him back.
I'm sure I'll call him back. I just have to be in the right mental state of mind.
You do, and you have to protect your mental state right now because
it's fragile.
It is fragile, and
Yeah, I'm very aware, and it's hard for me to admit that.
I know it is.
Because you're so I'm the strong one.
You are the strong one.
And I look at myself I don't physically look at myself. Like I will just sit and it's almost like I'm looking at myself as another person.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that I don't recognize myself, because I totally do, but I feel like a lot of times during the day, I feel like I'm losing my mind. And so now I'm back into planner mode. I have to write things down, because part of it is that I have too many thoughts in my head.
You need that structure.
I need the structure. I need somewhere to write down my thoughts, because I have these ideas and then I forget about them.
Yeah.
And then they're still swirling around in my brain.
Well,
and
you always have your phone, put notes. I know you forget.
I just don't. I'm not a phone. I'm not a digital person.
I know.
As much as I love technology and I am a tech geek, I'm old school.
Yeah.
So this morning I spent like an hour looking at different paper planners again.
Oh no!
No, because I can't find planner piece, and I'm like, okay, well, there's a new product.
I'm going to design a planner,
right? So then I just stopped, because I'm like, I'm not going to spend money, drop another $100 on a planner that's not doing it for me. I need to figure out, and part of it is, we're running the podcast. I'm running
you have a lot going
coaching business, my now product business. I'm doing consulting work, and I'm running bookkeeping for another company, and you're
doing energy healing. You're doing it all.
So it's all so different. And so I need to separate it out. But then I feel like if I separate it out, am I prioritizing one thing over the other? It's just, my brain is weird.
It always has been, but
yeah. So
it's because you have a genius brain. That's why.
And it's hard to, and that's what scares me, because then I'm thinking, and I think that might have triggered a little something in me too, because then I'm like, and I haven't researched it because I refuse to. Like, what's the oldest age of onset for schizophrenia?
I think it's your 20s. I think it's in your 20s. I really do.
Because it's like, what about the movie A Beautiful Mind? Didn't he not know until he was, was it college?
Yeah, he was in college.
Oh, okay. But was he?
I think so.
Because it was when he was a professor yes, we're talking about a movie.
It's a true story though.
Right. But then, health anxiety. These are the things I think about when I feel like I'm losing my mind.
I'm pretty sure, for schizophrenia, it's your 20s.
Well, I think it's different for women, but I still don't. We'll have to research.
Yeah, we'll have to research.
We'll get back to you, folks.
I'll research it, because you'll go down and
just do check more than one site, obviously,
because you'll go down a rabbit hole and convince yourself.
Yeah, and I don't think that I have schizophrenia.
No, I don't either.
And I know that my brain is fucking with
different.
me.
It's different.
It does. And it's interesting, because I've always known that it works differently. It's like I've told you, like when I used to watch The Good Doctor, and Sean would get the whole visualization of everything. That's what happens to me sometimes.
That's so interesting.
And I check out, when I was over with Steph yesterday, and she was talking to me about something, and it sparked an idea, and I was gone.
You disassociated.
I came back. I did totally disassociated. Yeah. So, okay, do I have dissociative personalities?
Goodness gracious.
And I don't. I know that I don't. And it gets you thinking about these things. And for me, I'd be more apt to think that it were my guides anyway.
Yeah, you would.
Unless it was telling me, if it started telling me evil things, that I would know that it was a mental illness. Yeah. But if it's not telling me evil things, then I know that it's my guides, my whoever, because I know that those are there, and I know that I get downloads from them. Which now I'm realizing also makes me feel like I'm a little crazy. Never thought about that before.
Makes sense, though.
Man, I need to just take a bath in some black tourmaline and selenite and refresh and
have an exorcism.
Yeah. Oh, Lord. So what about you? Anything you want to add? What happened to you this week?
Well, let's see. I went to not one, but 2 restaurants this week, which is incredible, because I haven't been to a restaurant since before COVID, with the exception of a coffee shop that we went to.
Yeah, because with COVID, I mean, even our grocery shopping we do online now, so.
I haven't been to any grocery stores, really. Well,
a couple of times here and there, quickly in and out.
Yeah.
But definitely not restaurants at all.
Yeah, restaurants were off limits, because I was actually ready to go to a restaurant, and then I heard from somebody that they went to a restaurant and got COVID, and I was like, I don't want to be sitting on top of everybody and risk getting COVID. And I know I'm probably going to get it eventually, because everybody, I think, will. But actively looking for it.
Right. And because that has been something that you've been very fearful of.
Very fearful.
Of getting it, and it's and like a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you may have already gotten it.
Who knows?
Too. You never know. I mean, chances are you haven't because you haven't been around anyone. Here's the thing about it, though. The fact that you've been out more this month than I feel like you've been out in the last 6 months. Mm-hmm. And I think that is amazing because you were already struggling with some agoraphobia before COVID.
Before COVID, yep.
And so that was not good for your social anxiety and your agoraphobia because it just kind of cemented that fear.
Yes.
And the safety of being home.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you have, I mean, even when we went to the coffee shop, that was huge.
Yeah.
And we went to Home Depot. Like, these are huge steps.
And we went to the Crystal Show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We went to two.
And that was huge.
And there were a ton of people there.
Because there were a ton of people there, and I didn't even realize I didn't have a mask on until after we left.
and knock wood, you know. Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
And something else has happened since our last episode with your therapy. Because you were on weekly therapy.
Oh, yeah. I asked her if we could go to every other week instead of weekly because I feel like I'm doing so much better.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't feel like I need to talk to her every week because I don't have all this.
And yet you're aware you still need to talk.
Absolutely.
So it's not.
I'm not giving her up
exactly.
because it's like a security blanket and she's helped me a lot. So.
Well, yeah. And that's a cycle that we go through sometimes where, okay, I feel better, so I'm fixed, so I don't need therapy.
Not sometimes, every time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how many times have I quit therapy?
Yeah.
For one reason or another.
Right.
So many times.
Right.
I've had
Either it's too hard or I feel like I'm all better.
Or I don't like the therapist. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't jive together or whatever.
And that's valid.
Yeah.
That's a valid feeling
valid.
Because
you have to be able to.
You have to be able to feel like you can trust them.
Yes.
That you're in a safe space.
Yes.
Because you're talking about some vulnerable stuff.
Very vulnerable stuff. That's hard for both of us, I think, to talk about the vulnerable stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Except for with each other, really. I don't know.
Well, I feel like, when we've talked about this before, it's hard to talk to an outsider because we both have the feeling that nobody, even if we explain it and tell people the things that we experienced, I feel like people can't grasp it.
No.
Sometimes.
No,
and I don't trust that people can grasp
also,
it.
I think you have to, I mean, and, you know, not you have to, but I think that people, to understand it, you have to have been through something similar.
You have to have been through something.
And even then, you don't understand the magnitude of what it was.
Right. Right. Or how all of the experiences combined shaped who we become.
Right. And we've had a lot of trauma. Not just as children. I mean, I consider Mommy's car accident trauma.
Mommy's car accident was absolutely trauma.
That was like the worst thing that ever happened to us.
Yeah, there are so many different kinds of sexual assault, miscarriage, you know, infertility. Mm-hmm. That's why it's so important to not judge people's trauma.
Right.
Because just because I may have experienced a miscarriage and another person may have experienced a miscarriage. It's a different experience for both of us.
Right. It is.
And infertility, same thing. Mm-hmm. It's relative to the person's experience.
Right.
And the person's mindset and the other things that the person has been through in life. We're not this single layer of a person.
We have multiple layers.
We're like
donkey
onions. Well, yeah, we're like.
You can cut that.
No, I'm not cutting it.
Layers, donkey.
But then that's just it. You know, I actually am a firm believer, and based on my own experience, that I have a hard time being in relationship with someone who has never experienced any type of trauma or loss. Because I don't feel we'll just get over it, or just do this, or just do that. You have no and it doesn't have to be my trauma that they've experienced.
Right, no.
But if you've never experienced anything in your life, if your family's all alive, your family's all healthy, if you've got, and it's not a perfect life, but if you haven't experienced anything, do not talk to me about how I should live my life and how I can be better.
Right. And just smile. Just be happy. It's your choice.
Yeah, just change the way you think. Yeah. And I'm a firm believer in your thoughts turn into your reality. It's true. It's not as simple as just change your thoughts.
No, it's not. And I'm so glad that you have opened up to that and know that, because for a long time I thought that you thought I could just...
No, I never thought that.
You never did.
No, I am... And probably because I'm vocal about how your thoughts are your reality. I don't believe that it's as simple as just changing your thoughts. Okay. I believe that it's important to change your thoughts. Yeah. And there are ways to do it.
There are. Well, I mean...
But I never thought it was just as easy as change your thoughts. Okay.
Because because you are so vocal about it.
Yeah, no.
I thought that, because I do tend to make up stories about what people are thinking about me.
Right.
My paranoia.
And I've become more vocal about challenging people who say it.
Yeah, you have.
Because there's a very important person in my life who does believe that just change the way you think. Just to change the way you think. And I challenge her all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't just say that. You can't just say, well, do these things and you don't need medication. No, you can't. No.
Yeah.
That's dangerous. That's a dangerous recommendation.
Medication. I know I need
and
medication.
You cannot tell someone with mental illness just think differently, because it's not that simple.
Because their brains are already broken.
They were not taught to think differently. Right. I'm proud of you. You did a lot this month, and it was your birthday.
And it was my birthday.
So
thank you.
Big month. You made it.
I did.
Because you didn't think you would.
I didn't think I'd make it to 50. So being 54 now, I'm actually happy to be 54, because I'm actually happy to be getting older, because I didn't think I'd make it to 50.
That's that's huge. Yeah. That says a lot about where you are.
Getting older is a blessing. I mean,
amen.
You're still alive.
Yep.
So,
and healthy, knock wood.
And healthy.
That's marble. That's
wood.
Okay, we got to wrap it up. It's getting long. We're trying to keep them down shorter for you guys, but
once we get talking, sometimes
we talk a lot. Yeah. So we hope that you appreciated our detour this week, and we will get on that borderline personality topic the next time. So have a wonderful couple of weeks until you hear from us next.
And remember to be kind to others and to yourself.
Love our podcast? Don't forget to follow us on social media. You can find us at My Sister's Keeper Mental Health on Instagram and on Facebook. Also, please remember that we are not licensed mental health professionals, and if you are in crisis, please dial or text 988.